the historic Weld Wheels building, which is now just a giant canvas.
Paradise Shitty.
Paradise Shitty, as Eric likes to call it. We're in the West Bottoms, Kansas City, Missouri. We have Eric's car here. He's going to tell us about it. What are we looking at over here, Eric?
Well, we started out with a 60 Biscayne. I had an old 56 gasser wagon, 210 handyman, and decided it was time to get rid of it after 18 years. And I had a guy, Spencer, in Kentucky, get a hold of me. He had a lot of interest in it, and he got talking to me. He wanted to work out a deal, and he said he had a 60 Biscayne, and I was kind of him-hawing about that because I wasn't a big Impala fan. I wasn't a lowrider guy, but he made an offer to me that I couldn't refuse, that if we couldn't make a deal, he'd cover my expenses going out there. So my buddy Slim and I loaded up a trailer and went out there, got out there, and the thing was really solid. It was completely different than what it is now. It was a flat black, and it had red scallops, and it had the red roof on it. It was actually a pretty decent paint job, but it just wasn't me at all. There's a lot of people that asked me, how come you don't paint pictures up of it? And I was just it kind of represented what I was anti. And decided I wasn't going to show much about it until I was able to make it my own.
We'll slow down and wave.
And so, well, Tyler and I decided we were going to start tearing into it and making it my own. And I had actually just gone through a phase in life as far as the divorce, and decided it was time to focus my time on something and stay sane and do what I knew best to do at the time. So the hardest thing was the interior was 90% done, and I was pretty excited about that. But then after I got it home, I realized, well, it's all red. What color do you paint it on the outside? Kind of limited to white, silver, black. And I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go with the stock color. So I sat there, and then I got to thinking about gold. And whenever you talk to somebody, I had one friend, Kyle, he said, oh, that'll be cool, gold. It'll look like Ronald McDonald's vehicle. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't win with this. And so I worked at an auto auction, and was driving around, and I spotted this Ford. And that's basically a 2015 Ford color. And just thought, okay, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do all the trim as much as I can, and hopefully accent the, it's actually called a white gold, but accent all of it with the chrome and the stainless. And then when you were helping me paint it, decided to do some microflake and just do the accents wherever the stainless was. And you had me scared to death, Tyler. Because you said, no, let's blast it. Let's do it heavy. And I said, no, I just want to do it faint. I just want to do it subtle. And you really had me nervous because you wouldn't let me in the booth whenever you were painting. And I respected that. But I was really pleased, really surprised when it came out. And it was just that subtleness. And from this distance, you really can't see it. I don't know if you'll be able to get it today filming it, but it really pops in the sunlight, but you can't photograph it. Nobody ever sees that. But so I took it. I wanted to make it different. Had one buddy, Weird Harold, when I got the car back here to Kansas City. He said, "Yeah, but it's a '60 Biscayne. Nobody wants those." And so that was my challenge, to make it something completely different. And putting a 60 Merc grill in it, that was real common back in the day. But I wanted to do it a little bit differently. So I actually made all custom mounts for it. I got way too much time in the grill, but I sunk it back. I wanted it to kind of have a Riviera look to it. And most of them, when they do it, the headlights on the ends come all the way out. And so I did that, and I did the custom touches with the grills over the headlights and on the tail lights, and put a 59 bumper on it. I like the simplicity of the 59 valences. Had to weld all those in custom and do the filler pieces. And then I wanted to do the trim differently. So the birds that are on the door, or the jets, those are 60 Impala, 59 60 Impala. And the belt line, that's 50 or 60 Bel Air. And then I wound up doing 69 or 50, geez, I can't even talk, 60 El Camino Spears. But oddly enough, all of that trim doesn't interchange with each other. So I had to have my good buddy Jesse, who's a master welder. I had to find another piece of trim, and we welded in 2 inches, because otherwise it was way too short. So what I tried to do is create an image that made a lot of purists shake their head and say, well, wait, what is it? Because if you go around back, you'll see that it's, I cut out the taillight panels. I put in Impala taillight panels, and did custom lenses in that. I got pretty lucky. I found a pair of new old stock stainless steel Foxcraft skirts, but also I went a little crazy as far as trim. A lot of guys were sitting there going, what in the world are you doing with all this trim? But the door trim that goes around the door openings, that's all 59 Pontiac, which interchanges with a 2-door post car. But it was really odd, because it's the first car that had a vision in my head and stuck to it, and came out exactly how I wanted it to. And I've been real happy with it. Now that I'm 55, kind of looking at something that's a little bit more subtle, a little bit slower, a little bit cushier ride, and I'm going to enjoy driving this one for a while. Last thing I did was got a hold of buddy down in Belton, Tailor Made Customs. He does a lot of custom upholstery, and I wanted to give a little bit respect to the lowrider community, and I did the headliner is all crushed red velvet, and he kind of hated me for that when I took the material down, because he said, "Oh, Eric, that's not a stretchable material. That's going to be a little bit of work." But he nailed it. It's all real tight, looks really good. But other unique thing was I took the car up to Eric's at Casey Tent Works, had all the glass out of it, explained to him I wanted as mirrored glass as I could, and that's actually a tint that goes on commercial buildings. It's made for flat glass, and I was a little afraid with the back glass it having some diffraction, because it would have to be curved, and he did a hell of a job. But at first he told me, he said, "It's a bad idea." I said, "What do you mean?" Because there's too much glass to have that big mirror. He said, "That's exactly what I want." I said, what I want is the most obnoxious bright red interior, but you can't tell it's in there. And people can't see it when you drive by, but you open the door and it's just like Satan's den opens up, or it's kind of like the briefcase on Pulp Fiction, just kind of glows. But I've been real happy with it. It is a static drop. I don't have bags on it or hydraulics, but I'm also on a budget, so maybe one day that'll get added. But with what I did for the budget that I had, I've been really happy with it.
What drivetrain's in it?
It's small block Chevy. We took in basically smooth and kind of cleaned it up. There's a little bit of dirt in it, but it's a driver. It's not a show car. Had to take the radiator support and kind of custom mount it so that I could use the pods or the buckets for the headlights, so it would sit in there. Nothing fancy, just reliable. It's still a 3-speed manual, 3 on the tree, kind of like that traditional style. Old school. No disc brakes. Just did it the way they do it back then, with a little bit of my flair.
I guess the last thing is your antennas. You made those.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Sputnik antennas.
It's custom touch. Everybody always runs dual antennas. So I wanted to do a little different, and I decided to stagger them and put 2 on one side. And then there was an old option years ago. It was they were antenna boosters or signal enhancers. It was kind of a gimmick because what they were is these balls that would bolt on, and your antennas would actually be bigger so that you could get better reception, which I don't think did shit. It was all a gimmick, but took some time, did a little research, finding real tiny antennas. That was probably the hardest thing because they had to come from China, but I got those. Machined out some aluminum balls, tapped them, and just kind of did my own little spacey cosmic theme, carried it through on the vehicle, just with the subtle touches.
That's one of those things where you're like, I miss Radio Shack from like 1989.
Exactly.
Because you used to be able to get like literally everything there.
Exactly. Shaved the door handles. One thing that was a trick that my old buddy Kaz had on his car that he helped me out with is we ran switches in the door. It's not a traditional popper kit or anything like that. It's actually, you had to weld up some brackets inside the door and just put solenoids in it, but it's actuated. Not in a traditional way, but in a older, more classic way.
It uses a magnet, correct?
Correct. Don't tell everybody that because then they'll be able to get in my car.
Well, they gotta have the right magnet.
They do. It's gotta be a strong one. That, and then just did a little accessories.
Desert Speed on Instagram.
Yeah, those guys do. So they're a small company out of Australia, and got a hold of them, and they cast me some pedals and did some custom pours with some metal flake in there. Ran a vintage hood ornament up on the dash that actually lights up as you want to drive at night. Installed a real high-tech stereo system, which is a 45 record player underneath the dash. Got real lucky because, like I said, kind of kept some traditionalism, but found a company that still had red floor mats. That was actually the last set that they ever had. I about died when I see what they sell for now. But this is my version, Eric Meyer's version of a 60 Biscayne, Impala, Camino, Bel Air thing.
Oh, we got the custom rear lights here.
Yeah, I did. I ran I made a custom backup lights rather than utilizing one of the lenses in the 6 tail lights.
Did you do the front turn signals too?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's next on the agenda. That, and I finished the 37 Chevy trim, running board trim to go, steers to go on the hood. They still got little things to do, but we're almost there.
16, 17 years almost that I've known Eric.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
Instantly, I think the first day I met Eric, we immediately went back to the garage, and at the time he was in a car club and I was trying to be in the car club, and we went back and chopped the top on Eric's Model A. I didn't even know him.
Right.
And they're like, hey, you know how to do this stuff, right, guy? I just lied and was like, yeah, sure do.
Said Wild Tech, you gotta have some sort
Yeah,
of
you gotta have some
experience.
sort of knowledge. We figured it out though.
Yeah.
That was one of, let's see, that's like 1, 2, between me, Eric, and Dave Sprinkle together, I think we probably built 12 or 13 cars all together, working with each other.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. Kind of slowing down now, though.
Not really. You're literally just traded your other car you traded that car for another car, and you've been building it.
Yeah.
It's on the lift.
Yeah. At least I got them now that I can drive them.
Yeah.
But,
I don't have that. Mine's sitting in a driveway with the front end off of it.
yeah, we'll work on that pretty soon.
Yeah, we'll get that going soon.
But there you have it.
I guess
A lot of people hate it, but I don't really give a shit. A lot of people love it, which is fine.
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
People are going to do what they do.
The only people
But-
I really have interest in is the people that question it or go, what? I don't.
What is that?
Yeah, I
Right.
don't get that. What is that?
Now, when I met you, you had the station wagon, the 56.
Yeah.
And you were already into hot rodding when you were in Colorado.
Uh-huh.
And you moved from Colorado to Iowa, or you moved from Iowa to Colorado and then to here.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I had that wagon in Colorado. That's
Right.
where I started it, and then moved. Or no, had that wagon in Iowa.
And took it to Colorado.
Right.
And then it came here with you. And when I met Eric, it was
Primo.
primo. It was red and white 2-door wagon
Yeah. Had a
with
nice
all
big
the
job.
cool 90s stuff on it.
Yeah. And then we decided to turn it into Frankenstein.
Then we turned it into a gasser that Eric shit himself in one time at the drag strip.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
We did a lot of wild shit in that car, even before we changed it.
Yeah.
Drove it to Salina, both ways. We drove it to Salina
The
as
car,
a gasser and as
yeah.
the original version.
The car that had all the metal flake in the wrong spot.
All the metal flake in the wrong spot. Everything but the car was painted, the outside.
Yeah.
Now, prior to that, you had never done a car though, right? Like you did a lot. You were into bicycles, which
Yeah,
I know that.
bicycles.
And you had the T-shirt company, which was about bicycles.
Yeah.
But the only other you had cars, like we've always talked about. You had a Cougar
Right,
when you were a
yes.
kid, but that was just a normal. That was at a time where that was just there was no necessarily customizing. It was just a cool car.
Yeah, my dad, I wanted to when I was 16. That was when I was in Bismarck, North Dakota. And it was actually a pretty rare option. It was a '70 Cougar, and it was a butterscotch, and it had a houndstooth interior and a houndstooth roof. And at 16, I was just like, oh my God. It looked like, to me, I viewed it as some grandma's style or pattern. My dad, he was into cars. He wasn't a big customizer. He was more into preservation and respecting the factory styles. But growing up as a kid, he had a '66 Corvette. But I had that Cougar, and I wanted to do some things to it. He and I did the heads on it and stuff. A lot of mechanical. He was very mechanically inclined. But I decided I wanted to dye the top, and he wouldn't let me.
Oh man!
And I was so pissed. But then I sit there and I think, man, if I had that car today, just because that option wasn't that.
Yeah, like now it's later. It's like, oh, that houndstooth is really cool.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, now that's
Yeah.
bitching.
Yeah, but that's like a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about some of the cars, think of some of the AMC cars. As a kid, I was like, those are so nasty.
I mean, at one time we thought it was cool to weld a meat cleaver into the chop of a car. And I don't think we would do that today.
No, but
This is definitely, I would say that the caliber has gone up every time you build something.
yeah. But
You've
you
always
learn.
had that the little details, even on the wagon prior to it getting done. Like, that's one thing people always say about you whenever you have a car or whatever it is. There was like, it's all these like weird little things
Yeah.
that people don't really think about.
I don't ever want to go for the shock factor. You know, I mean, there's some of it that's done really well, but you know, as far as, I mean, like, I had coined the phrase way back when, the clown rod, and you know, you take the rat rod, and you can respect the original traditional rod, and it was the poor guy that did with what he had, but to make it obvious and go, "Blah," I always wanted things to be clean but yet subtly different, and you just attract a like-minded person when that person comes up and recognizes something and talks to you. It's I guess more valuable to me. It's more a respect thing. No different than music, no different than art. I mean, you can sit there and you can listen to a certain kind of music, and other people would be like, yeah, fuck, what the hell are you listening to? You can enjoy art. I mean, you take Warhol's art, it's really not that complex of art. And some people are just like, I don't get it. But yet, if you understand the man behind it and you understand his vision, you respect it. But that's like with anything. So I think what you do, or what I do, is try to create something that doesn't appeal to everybody. I mean, I've had lowrider guys when I was first building it, and they were just like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? But there's also other lowrider guys that respect what I did, but I don't want to fit into everybody. I don't want to be what everybody is. I mean, if you look, my wheels are 15 inch. That's because I'm a hot rodder. I always have. I don't have a problem with 13 inch wheels, but I like filling up the wheel well. The rear tires are 8 inch wide rims with a custom offset, because I'll always have a car that I like meat underneath there. And so I try to grab a little bit of something from everything and find the best of what it is and try to create a melting pot, I guess. I don't know.
It's also not just with your cars, though. Like, your whole life, basically, is a similar way. I've always seen you as that, because you were the first person I ever went to their house, and it was like, oh, wow. Like, you can also make your house cool. And then at a certain point, a few years ago, I watched your house transform into like this amalgamation of like cool shit randomized, where I would like pin shit on the walls, and you always thought that was funny that I would just like tack shit on my walls wherever. You kind of did the same thing, but it was like in picture frames and nicely hung.
Yeah.
But to watch you go through, and then all of a sudden your house is almost this like living, like it's almost like an art installment of a period of time now, because like the furniture all matches, and it's like the, you know,
it's a lot more simplistic.
Yeah, you've minimalized some things, but also changed it 100%, you know.
I don't think anybody, no matter what it is, I don't think anybody comes up with an idea or a vision and it's permanent. It becomes a piece of history. It becomes that section of time in your life. It's no different than tattoos. I mean, how many of us have tattoos that you go, maybe I shouldn't have done that one.
I got a whole lot of those.
And I'll never forget Alex, my youngest son. He always loved them. And I said, whatever you do, whatever your first one is, think about it for a year before you get it. And if you want it after a year, then, because when we're young, we think we know what we want, but then we learn, and I think it all evolves. You look at car builders from years past, you look at artists from years past, and it all evolves. It never stays exactly the same. I mean, you take an artist like Glenn Barr, as far as some of the stuff that he was doing early on versus what he does today. It's completely different.
Johnny Crap.
Right.
That was a guy that like...
Exactly.
He went from drawing Rat Fink to drawing Stormtroopers now.
Right.
And still just as an amazing
right.
thing, just a different...
Yeah, it appeals to different people.
Right.
And maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you realize our friends. We all have different friends now.
Yeah.
You don't have the exact same. That's the thing of life is, and time is, it's always changing. It's always evolving. If you can create something that lasts a longer duration of time, look at how many cars that have been a wow factor 10, 20 years ago, and you look at it now, and that thing's evolved through different people's hands, and it's changed completely. But to find one that's a time capsule that you'd never change is a rarity. But yet, that guy got it. That guy created something that was different, but yet made a statement, but also was respected, I guess, if that makes any sense at all. Because look at what kids today, me at 55, and they're experiencing new music. It was actually old music for me. So it's, time always evolves, it comes around, it fades, but that's with everything.
Yeah, it's going to be not cool, and then one day it's inevitably, whatever isn't cool now will be cool again one day, just from someone being like, yo, I'm going to think this thing's cool because everyone else thinks it sucks.
Right.
Is basically how that happens.
Right.
Look at motorcycles. A few years ago, nobody...
Look at gym shorts.
Yeah. Anything.
Right. But it's the person, it's the personality that creates that too, or creates that interest. So there we go.
There we go.